Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Back today to do my booktuber rewind for April. This is my monthly video where I catch you up on the booktube watching that I've been doing and really enjoying, looking at various bookish creators, different video trends that have been going around, different tags, looking forward to the future, to any readathons that are happening in the upcoming month. I just hope it's a really nice celebration of booktube. As I say, I normally talk about different video trends that I've been noticing, but actually what has stood out to me much more so have been individual videos rather than topics of discussion that everybody's talking about. There are instances in my list of like 2 different people talking about the same topic, but it hasn't kind of jumped off into the rest of the booktube community. And so this booktube rewind is very individual video dominated, which is no bad thing. Also, I think because we're getting to the point where a lot of the major book prizes have already been announced, at least their long list or short lists. So I've just been seeing a lot fewer reaction videos. So firstly, you'll know that I was a very big fan of Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and I haven't been able to let that book go quite yet. I've been really enjoying people talking about it, but I think my favourite video came from Willow Talks Books, who actually did 2 separate videos on this book. Firstly, a general review, and then she went and did a video reacting to various memes that have sprung up as a result of the book. Obviously, the meme video is going to make much more sense if you've already read the book, but I found it really, really funny, and as a fan of the book, just made me chuckle. A really fantastic discussion it came from Andy over at Really Random Reads called Is It the Book or Is It You?, in which he talks about how objective we really are with our reading. Is it possible to be truly objective? Moments where we find ourselves potentially holding back our enjoyment of reading for some reason that is completely outside of the book, whether it is our own biases, our mood while we're reading, our physical state, what we expected of a book versus what we are given, and is it always fair to judge a book based on what we wanted it to be rather than what it is, or even the format of how we are consuming the book, whether that be physical, audio or ebook. It's something that I do try to consider when I'm reading books, and especially if I'm having a harsh judgment on a book, is it me or is it actually that the book is bad? I like to think that I can be objective, but it is a good reminder to kind of take your own biases out. Something momentous happened in April, and that is that Ben Fensom, formerly Doom Antidote, finished his budget Pride and Prejudice series. This has been really, really big on TikTok and Instagram, but he has posted all of the various parts on his YouTube channel. This has been a months-long endeavour of going through the 1995 Pride and Prejudice and basically just doing a very, very funny lip sync to it, using only costumes and props from around his house. I've been very much enjoying it, and I am incredibly sad to see it finish. And I'm personally putting the suggestion out there that if he wanted to do Emma next, I think his Miss Bates impression would be fantastic. I think because his birthday and death day come in April, a lot of people think of April as Shakespeare month, and a great Shakespeare video that I caught was How to Start Reading Shakespeare and Actually Enjoy It by Randy Ray. And this talks about getting into Shakespeare not through the plays, as so many people often do, but actually through the sonnets. Which when I heard this premise, I thought, well, yeah, I guess I can see what you mean. But by the end of the video, I was fully convinced that this is the way forward. If you've always been intimidated by Shakespeare, actually, yeah, the sonnets are a great way of getting into that language. The sonnets are very personal, but they're also very relatable. Maybe you can't imagine yourself killing a king or marrying somebody after only knowing them one day, but in the sonnets, you get much more general, familiar feelings and emotions. So it makes perfect sense to me. And now we get into the kind of duo videos, instances where I saw 2 different booktubers talk on the same topic, whether that was intentional or otherwise. The first of those being According to Alina, who did a video on the death of personal taste in books, and this idea that often goes around that we are all reading the same things. It's something that I don't necessarily think is true if you really, really branch out with your booktube watching, but I think if you are stuck with the same few channels, maybe it does kind of feel like everybody's reading the same thing. And she kind of dissects that claim and just generally talks about this idea of personal style and how that relates to personal taste in books. I then saw Sajid over at Books and My Social Life, who did a follow-up video to this, which is called We're All Reading the Same Books. And I thought it was a really great follow-up, a really interesting video, even, as I say, if I think it's not necessarily true. I can definitely see instances where I think to myself, oh yeah, maybe I should read that book because everybody's reading it. I don't think any of us are quite immune to that. The next little duo that I very much loved was prompted by the recently released photos from the Withering Heights set, which have caused a lot of us in the costume drama community a little bit of panic. The first video that I saw on this came not from a booktuber, but somebody who talks generally about the Regency and Regency-inspired films and TV, called The New Withering Heights is Doing Too Much by Regency Rumours. And then the next video that I saw very quickly after was from Claudia over at Spencer's Library, who talked more generally in her video, which was A New Era of Classic Book Adaptations is Upon Us, and it's going to be weird. Basically, both of these videos talking about this new Wuthering Heights adaptation, what a lot of our fears are about it, and kind of how we got here, which films have been the precursor to this new Wuthering Heights. Heights, and should we be as worried as we are? A video that I actually didn't realise was a collab until recently, but I really very much enjoyed and I am looking forward to getting to the other videos in this series, came from B over at Mama Needs to Read Romance. And it was a video called My Favourite People in Romance, and it was basically going A to Z through various different favourite authors, audiobook narrators, illustrators, just various people who are key in the romance reader community. And I just thought it was really good fun and really informative. What I didn't realise was that it's actually a collaboration with 20 different booktubers who also read romance. And so now my Watch Later playlist is heaving. Even though I've only seen B's so far, I do fully intend to watch the rest. And hopefully I've got some new romance booktubers to watch. Then the final duo that I wanted to shout out was Gem over at Gem of Books, as well as Scott over at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, who recently released 2 videos talking about miserable books, because Misery May is coming up, and they basically asked some of their booktube friends to discuss their favourite miserable book. Lots of different booktubers collaborated on this, and I was actually one of them. I was featured on Scott's video talking about what else but Les Miserables, but I can highly recommend the rest of the videos and the other booktubers and their book recommendations. I've certainly got a lot of new books that I want to tuck into. Then in terms of new popular tags that came up this month, there was the Spring is in the Air book tag, which was done by Rainey over at Beyond Books and Daniela from Uncommon Reader. This is one that I've actually done recently. I don't know if it'll be up by the time you see this video, or if it is not, it is upcoming. But basically a bunch of different prompts to do with the spring months and matching books to those prompts. There was also the to reread or not to reread tag, which was created by Robert G, reader of books, talking about the common question of reading as to whether a book is worth rereading. Are you somebody who rereads, or are you a one-time only kind of reader? It's always interesting to get people's perspectives on this. Often in April you'll see lots of people doing the quarter year crisis book tag, and Shelley over at Shelley Swearingen actually introduced a new quarter year tag called the quarter year check-in tag, which is more of a reflective tag which goes into BookTube, your personal goals, as well as your general reading. And then finally, a really great one that came around this month was the Great Gatsby 100th year anniversary tag, which was created by Sherry over at Books and Radio Plays. Hello, editing wet hair Charlotte here, because I realised that I forgot to mention that this book tag was also created by Alan over at Big Hard Books and Classics, and Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, so my apologies for not including them in the first time round. And it kind of does what it says on the tin. The questions are all about the Great Gatsby, as we have reached the 100th year anniversary of its publication. So there we go, a bunch of great tags to check out, and maybe some of you might want to do them. And now we come to the part of the video where I talk about different readathons that are coming up in May. Obviously I've already mentioned Misery May. This is hosted by Gem of Books, as well as Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and the aim of this readathon is to read bleak, miserable books, which depending on your reading taste may be easier or more difficult. There's also the Ever Afterathon, which is running from May the 1st to the 25th, which is a historical romance readathon hosted by a bunch of different booktubers who I will link below. There is also the Spoonies Readathon in the month of May, hosted by Emily over at Novell Novels, and Kat from Brews and Reviews, which is really great at highlighting disability and chronic illness. The month of May definitely leads itself into various puns, and we have both the Horror Mayhem Readathon hosted by Reading This Life, and I think some other booktubers, as well as Mystery and Mayhem, which is hosted by A Spark of Sam, which I think are pretty evident, either reading a bit of horror or reading a little bit of mystery. There is also the ReadaTHIN, hosted by Donna Marie Reads, in which the aim is to thin out your TBR, which if you weren't able to participate in Katie over at Books and Things TBR Clear Out readathon from April, this might be a good one for you to participate in. There's a really funny one called the Goober Readathon, which I will definitely have to link below the announcement video so that you can get more of a sense of this. But the concept is, there is this ghost character called Goober who is trying to learn more about the world, and this particular month he's wanting to learn more about plants, and so you read books around the various prompts on his study sheet. It's all in the name of Goober. Obviously, because it's May, very predictably we have May the Force Be With You, which is of course a Star Wars based readathon in which you are choosing a character and building up your TBR through the various prompts that fit with that character's profile. And then finally we have Hikeathon, which is hosted by The Brightside Girl, which is both a reading and various physical activities based readathon, which I think is great for this time of year as the sun is shining, as the temperature is warming up, to encourage us to get outside as well as to read more. So there we go, those are the various readathons that I have come across that are starting in May, and at the end of my BookTube rewind for this month. Please do let me know if you've watched any of the YouTube videos I've spoken about. Alternatively, please let me know about any April watches that you really enjoyed, any creators you think I should check out. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.